Bonjour David, comment ça va?
Really good, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. So I'm delighted, I'm ecstatic even, at last we managed to spend some time together. We've known each other for a long time, but at least we can sit down. We're at Sibos 2019, the end of day one. It's arguably the biggest, baddest, meanest actually Sibos ever, I believe, more than 10,000 people. And I believe you've been very busy working with Sibos, so it's not just attending, but it's also almost co-creating content, or can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think it was about 6 months ago we sort of stood up at London Partners and sort of announced that actually we were helping the innotribe guys, particularly with some of the content. So, they've really sort of gone out of their way to make this, as you say, the biggest banking conference that there is. And it's amazing, like the attendees, like the amount of people that you just walk along the street and I know these people from social media, but like there they are in the flesh. So it's awesome to see all of these people come together and genuinely passionate about moving the industry forward.
And it's a great opportunity to catch up with friends or people you've been in touch or people you interviewed as well. So if we step back, we'll talk about 11FS, of course, and you will give us an overview, but maybe we should start there actually. What is 11FS? I believe you celebrated your 3-year anniversary pretty recently, a few months back.
Yeah, we just ticked over 3 years, which, it feels like about 15 seconds since we sort of got together to start the company. But, the sort of nexus of the idea behind 11FS really was, through different experiences, whether it's mine at big banks or big consultancies, or Jason co-founding Starling and Monzo, or Simon running the blockchain R&D division at Barclays. Actually, we've seen people spend billions of pounds and not really achieve what it was that their aspiration was. So from our perspective, really, how could we bring together a group of people who could actually maximize the opportunity that we're seeing, which is fundamentally there's this massive shift from the traditional analog world through this sort of digitized world, which many of the banks recognize today, into really truly digital. And the traits of truly digital are fundamentally different to what it is that actually you are when you're just taking an analog thing and digitizing it. And because of that, actually it requires new skill sets, new talents, new real operating model shifts, not just the low-level technology, but just fundamentally changing what it is that you do. And that was 3 years ago now. We've built brand new greenfield banks for NatWest, for Standard Charter. We're just about done with a retail bank over in the US. We're building out a brand new core banking system called 11FS Foundry with our fantastic partners DNB in Norway. I think we're doing a few other things around the edges on those things, but it's really about creation of a services and a product business. How can we help people with our services and productize the things that we're doing, whether it be core banking systems or benchmarking tools, just to make this stuff easier for people. And we're having a lot of fun.
Which is very important, and it shows as well. Talking about that, the fintech ecosystem, everybody talks about fintech, which is not exactly new financial technology and financial services and technology. It's been there for a long while. Of course, fintech, there's a notion of user experience, more dynamic, exciting experiences on digital, mobile. But again, it's hard to build that on top of legacy system with a very specific old school view of the world. And you help changing that. But it's a very complex, booming ecosystem. Everybody wants a piece of it.
Yeah.
What is 11FS? Is it, please don't insult me, is it an agency? Is it like a consulting firm? Is it something in between? Because you don't just help and consult, so advise, you also deliver, which I think is fundamentally different, and you use like a lot of disciplines again, which is equally important. So what is 11FS?
Yeah, we say we sort of bring challenger mentalities and methodologies. So, the old adage of, you bring in a consultancy and you pay them time and materials, like surprise, it costs you a lot of time and costs you a lot of materials, right? So from our perspective, we're building ventures with people, in Standard Charter's example or the NatWest example. We lent our culture, we put our people to it, we helped create the brands, we did the engineering, we did the partnership relationship, all the way kind of through that mix to be in a situation where we can really hand that back to them. I think the model within many consultants are almost parasitic, if I'm honest with you. They're there to land and expand and continue to sort of breed these things out. And I think very similar to financial services, I think a challenger isn't challenging anything unless it's challenging the business model. And for us, coming in and doing it in a way that actually we are as motivated as they are to actually have that impact in the industry, that's where things really start to change. And from our perspective, I honestly think, there's so many examples in a big organization like an RBS or a Standard Charter where somebody will use regulation or technology debt as a very good sort of polished reason why they can't do the thing. We could be a challenger bank if only our regs team would let us do it. And most of the problems that the big organizations have are not that. They have more money than God, they have all of the customers, but fundamentally it's the culture that just inhibits them actually being able to make these things happen. So we really help them almost in a personal trainer sense to help unleash their potential. In many instances going through the exact same governance processes that they would, but we've done this stuff before, so we know where you can push the edges on these things and explain to people why these things would happen. It's a weird one because technology adoption, things like cloud services. No fintech startup starts today figuring out where they're going to have their 3 data centers. Fintechs start in a completely different space, and because of that, actually the old dogs can learn some new tricks.
So I was going to say, your goal is to make an impact, like a long-term impact on organizations. We're not talking about projects as such or launching one piece of a solution or new experience, but try to inseminate or disseminate, like propagate, like a culture more open, more around collaboration, more about innovation. That's what you're trying to achieve.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah. I think the point with the fintechs, I think Monzo acquiring 3 million customers, brilliant. But it's not what they do, it's the way that they do it, which impresses me most. So the fact that they can take a good idea to market with 3 million people in 3 weeks, in a big bank, you probably wouldn't be able to schedule the meeting in 3 weeks. So I think that's the change, really. If you took a screenshot now of the industry, everything looks pretty close. But on the basis that they can do in 3 weeks what it might take 13 months to do in a big organization, and probably spend £15,000 on something that might take £3 million to kind of implement, I think the industry, the gap between the people who have fantastic operating models in place and those who don't are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Agreed. Touching about that, you're talking about Monzo, for instance, and their ability to do that, to quickly iterate or launch new product or test. And I think that one of the smartest, like traits of characteristic of 11FS has been from the get-go almost your focus on building, sharing insights, building a reputation, engaging with the right people, building an audience, so let's say a community worldwide, and that's genius because as we know, the more people are aware of you, the more they respect and they trust your insights, the more they're likely to engage with you and do business. So it's business acumen, of course, is very good here. But can you just touch that, because you managed to build in just 3 years a real community. You're not the only one to do a podcast, or yet you still managed to do that, plus partnerships with the likes of Sibos. It's smart as well. So how do you, I know you're smart, your team is great, very experienced, but would you say how big has been the influence of your clever marketing, but not to insult you, but that marketing and communication bit in the rapid growth of 11FS?
So it's been huge. I think when we started the company, we looked at there was 5 of us around a tiny little table in a Starbucks. How were we going to compete with a McKinsey or an Accenture for work in RFPs and win it? Well, actually, we took B2C technology, we took B2C distribution points and applied them to B2B. And now the hard thing around that is if you're an Accenture or a KPMG or somebody along those lines, it's almost impossible to emulate, because what is required from that is complete transparency, complete authenticity in terms of actually how you go about doing things. And actually, that's really difficult if you're in a really big organization. We really, really pride ourselves on unleashing talent. And actually being in a situation where you create a culture that actually doesn't conform people to the way it's done around here, or like what you think they should be dressing like, or how you think they should talk. All of these things actually inhibit people from doing the best work that they can do. So perversely, having really radical transparency in terms of what we think, having a podcast which isn't about us, but the people who are on it. We just shot a documentary which tells the tale of actually what happened since the financial crisis. It's not about us, it's about the community that's been created around these things. I'm not in any way, shape or form like a religious person, but I definitely believe in karma. I think the more good we do in the community and the better we can be the glue between these things to actually bring, the Bank of England and some guy who just wants to start a startup, or, the FCA at one of our After Dark events speaking to, somebody from a bank that they just wouldn't have got to talk to because that's not how that process works. Just connecting these things together and creating value, that's all it is. Value, if you're a B2C player to a consumer, is, explaining things in a way that you can understand them. We talk a lot about, FS is perversely confusing, and actually all we're trying to do is do FS without the BS. It's relatively straightforward.
Okay, sounds very easy when you say that, but I totally get you. Thank you for
it. It's not. That's the thing.
It sounds easy, sorry, but I know exactly. You make it feel like it's easy.
Authenticity, individuals can be authentic. Mm-hmm. Authenticity at scale is hard. Mm-hmm. It's similar to, I think, the face that the banks have with cultural transformation. Cultural transformation for 150,000 people is difficult, and it's why actually we gravitate towards small groups of people to do new things, because it's easier to create a new culture with small groups than it is big groups.
Of course.
But I mean, just because I think this is another thing in terms of our advantages, just because it's hard doesn't mean you can't do it.
But I would argue that at the stage you're at, it probably start being quite difficult to hire the right people, and again, maintaining that original culture.
I don't know. No, not really. It's. Okay. I think if you see culture as something that you've created and people don't add new things to it. Mm-hmm. Every week we have 6 or 7 people kind of on a Monday starting at 11FS, and actually what we're looking for is not people to fit to our model. This is for people to come in and add to the thing that we're doing. I don't want people to come in to do what we do. I want them to be better than that. And actually this is where I think the difference is the old days of you wear a blue suit and you wear a red tie don't work in the context of individuals really wanting to bring themselves to work. We have sort of 2 values that I kind of go back to a lot is, own your narrative. Like if you're an individual, great, own your narrative. Like actually, how do you convey who you are? Because I don't care if they're, 11FS, I care if they're passionate about what they do. And the other one is like, embrace your weird. The more people can be disgustingly passionate about the thing that they do, whether it's video engineering or whether it's front end capability or whether it's copywriting or whatever. If somebody's truly passionate about the thing that they do a better job.
It's something you can't teach anyway. Passion, it's like people have it or not when you think about it.
Yeah, I think so.
So it's not about blue shirts or blue suits, but blue shirts, square, checkered shirts now. Like that's the new, suit. We're going to wrap up. First of all, congratulations. I believe you've been nominated, potentially as the Tech Entrepreneur of the Year. Am I correct?
Yeah. So CityM this morning sort of announced.
I saw your face. I was like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah, that was a surprise to me, that one as well. It's so it was Entrepreneur of the Year. So down to the 5 finalists. Which is super interesting. I don't think we'll win it, but just to be sort of nominated and amongst the people who have been in it is phenomenal. So, but it's nice. I like those things when, this year we won the Consultancy of the Year, which is awesome. So that was great to beat Deloitte and EY and Capco and those guys to those things.
That's all right.
Individual ones I don't like so much because, all of the success that we've had at 11FS is because we're a team. So, if we are lucky enough to kind of win it on, when is it, November, I think it is, then it will definitely be a team thing. If not, we're just going to have a really good night.
So the trophy would sit then in the office, not at home, or?
100%.
Okay, good. Last question then. 2020 is coming fast, quickly. What's next then for 11FS? You mentioned a lot of partnerships, collaborations, real products or solutions you took to market, recently. What's next?
Yeah, big year next year. I think with the stuff that we've done this year, we will continually look to kind of push the envelope. So, the documentary we've done this year is awesome. We're going to have to figure out how we top that next year. Foundry particularly is going to have a really big year. There's some big partnerships that we'll be sort of announcing pretty soon. So yeah, very exciting times, I have to say. It's weird, we're suddenly living in the future in a weird way. 2020 seemed like a million years ago when I was a kid. Now the reality of that is here. It's going to be really exciting to see how the industry sort of shapes out. But if anything, if the close of 2019 is anything to go on for the beginning of 2020, it's going to be pretty damn good.
Exciting times, yeah. Well deserved. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you.
And
Awesome.
wish you all the best.
Thank
and
you very
see
much.
you soon on
Thank you.
the Fintech Power 50.
Thank you.